Hello again, my friends. Today I am continuing my vision and discussion of paradise. And I'd just like to say, to start off with, that in imagining our paradise, we imagine something into existence in a even literal sense. And then there's whatever time lag comes. But this is why I believe that Einstein emphasized that imagination is more important than knowledge, because imagination takes us to these realms and dimensions that we most desire, and we can do that in a number of ways. And but a big part of it has to do with our imagination. What we can imagine is, let's say, possible. And what's possible, it's all connected. So what's possible also depends on what beliefs we hold right now, what we can imagine, and but mostly it's about beliefs. So if you have beliefs that are, let's say, blocking you from attaining or experiencing what you most desire, then you may want to re-examine those beliefs and get to the core of those beliefs, because every belief has a core belief attached to it, or that it is actually springing off of. And so I would say it's worthwhile to get to the core beliefs as to what's holding you back from really imagining, allowing yourself the freedom to imagine and embrace what you most desire and want to experience in life in general. And then that's how we create heaven on earth, because I would venture a guess that most people aren't going to imagine, some kind of hell for themselves. They would more likely be imagining a heaven, which is what I'm doing right now. So I just want to get into, I was trying to think of before this video, some of the things that I haven't touched on as much already. I've talked a lot about relationships and social interactions in my paradise, a little bit of what it would physically look like. I believe I did mention, forgive me if I didn't, but things like actual, buildings or physical appearance of structures on the planet, and how that'd be all kind of, forgive me if I'm using the wrong terms, but feng shui, or like, Japanese styles or gardens of, sort of molding the human-made structures into the landscape, like it was always there in a sense, or like being in harmony with nature. So everything that's built that isn't already there in my paradise will be in harmony with nature, very aesthetically pleasing, beautiful, and so and by design be very beautiful, because everyone in my paradise will understand the importance of beauty and things being aesthetically pleasing. And in fact, there have been more ancient cultures and different traditions in maybe not so ancient cultures that understood that and had that kind of values. Even you look at some of the cultures around the world today, some of them have what I would consider much more beautiful and interesting looking buildings. And then in other places, let's say in very industrial, commercial oriented societies, they're a lot more practical type of buildings, not so much emphasis on beauty. But for me, that'll always be a high priority in my paradise to make everything beautiful. And in fact, it'll be matching up with very beautiful, pristine, what's the word? Optimal vigor of nature itself. Nature will be in full force and full bloom, lush. Everything will be very green and colorful, lots of bright colors. And that'll be a huge part of the paradise that I envision. And I'll get to also an experience I had related to that, but it'll be vibrant colors, very, very colorful, like flowers everywhere, bright greens, and so everything will just be growing. There'll be fruit growing everywhere, and let's say if we really don't need to eat in my paradise, human beings don't need to eat to live anymore, but they might go around and eat some fruit once in a while off the tree, because that's just being freely given by nature and saying, here you go. It's not hurting the plant or the tree by taking that fruit. Pardon me. So we'll just go ahead and eat some fruit now and then just for the pure enjoyment of it. But again, in my paradise, that won't really be necessary to eat to live. So along with all these beautiful bright colors, the ocean, the lakes will be always, bright, sort of turquoise blue, like or green, like emerald green color. I went to a lake up north in Canada, near Banff, if any of you know where that is, a few times, and it's actually called Emerald Lake. And when you go there, you're just struck by the glowing emerald color of it, the beauty of it. And so I'm saying everywhere will be like, we won't have these algae ridden, sort of dirty, stagnant water sitting anywhere. Things will always be flowing and very crystal, kind of, bright colors. And also, we can get into the scents. I'm a very scent-oriented type of a person, so scents are very key for me. I notice scents right away, and it has an effect on my mood and all that kind of thing. And many years ago, I was working in parks maintenance, and in the summertime in Canada there at a certain time I think it was in June, mid to late June, there'd be these blossoms come out on some of the apple trees in one of the parks. And in this one corner of the park in particular, I'd be working or, in that area, and it would just strike me, like get me to stop whatever I was doing for a moment and just take in the beauty and the pure pleasure, the natural pleasure of the scent of these blossoms. Like, it was so profound to me, it felt otherworldly. So in my idea of paradise, there will always be these beautiful otherworldly kind of scents. They won't be otherworldly, they'll be in the world that we're in. They'll be a part of that world that we're living in, but they'll just be these just beyond words. Of the beauty of them will be, and the pleasure and the joy of the smells will be beyond words. So that will just be commonplace instead of a very rare experience, because I don't often smell scents like I did a few times there in the park. So that'll also be a big part of my paradise. And it's not like there won't be any, let's say, more unpleasant scents. It's just that maybe those will be more mild, and the more favorable scents will be stronger, more emphasized. Um, the colors in the sky, let's say, as well. We see these beautiful sunsets throughout our lives, and nature has so much of that to offer. If we look for it, notice it, and but maybe we don't see that as often as we would in my vision of paradise. So think of the most beautiful sunsets and even aurora borealis and or northern lights, and just all these different, very like pastel or even neon colors, oranges and reds and yellows and purples, blues, all of the spectrum of colors in the sky. We'll see the sky will be like the whole sky will be almost like a rainbow a lot of the time. Maybe that'll be more of the norm, excuse me, than the exception. So the sky will always be sort of spellbinding in its beauty. And I'm losing my voice. Along with that, we will, like I said, I mentioned eating some fruit and that. So then the taste, our senses, so all of our senses will be so much higher, more powerful and sensitive in my paradise. So the enjoyment, the richness of life will be so much greater than what we've experienced thus far. What I've experienced thus far, I should just speak for myself, but venturing a guess that a lot of people will relate to what I'm saying. So I also want to talk a little bit about things like telepathy will be the norm in communication in my paradise. Everybody will know immediately what somebody else is thinking, but that might alarm a lot of you listening and thinking, oh my goodness, like it'll just be like chaos and people will be fighting all the time because they're angry about what else somebody else thought. But think of the whole realm, the wholeness of it. Okay, so you don't have all of these issues going on, interpersonal relationships and jealousy and hatred and all of those kinds of things are not running rampant in my paradise. All right, so first of all, think along those lines. You're not going to have all this animosity and tension. And I mean, if there's tension, I mean, it doesn't mean there won't be tension, but it'll be more like well, for lack of a better word, sexual tension or whatever, and people will just deal with that in very positive, healthy ways. But there's not going to be all this negativity and that going on, negative emotions. So if you take that out of the picture, and again, I could give you some examples of why, but if you look at some of my past videos, you could venture a guess as to how we would not have those type of emotions, along the lines with letting the creative energy flow and not blocking it, and then like I said, if everybody has all of their physical needs taken care of, they're not having to earn a living to get by, and everybody is just following the golden rule and loving each other, then it just eliminates a whole pile of negative emotions that come up when there's all this lack and separation between people. So there's no more separation. People are loving each other and yet still having their closer ties and connections with people, but loving everyone the same, or not in the same way, but having that same kind of intense love for all of creation, including every being in it. And then we have telepathy as a dominant form of communication. So when you approach somebody, they'll know what you're thinking, but chances are it's not going to be a negative thing. It'll be a really positive thing, and people will respond positively to that. But they'll also have a lot more understanding at the same time as getting the communication through telepathy. They will get so much more understanding of, why you're thinking what you're thinking, your emotions. They'll feel the emotion along with it. They'll know probably like even some images that you have attached to your thoughts, like where it'll just be, that's all it'll be, is just a picture, like an image. So maybe it won't even be words. Often it won't be words in your telepathic communication. It'll just be an image of something. And then, but along with that image, they'll get an understanding of where, excuse me, of where you're coming from, rather than just you venturing a guess based on, excuse me, your past experiences and beliefs and all of that, that can wreak havoc on coming to an understanding of somebody. So there'll be so much more understanding of each other through telepathy that we won't be offended by the thoughts that they're having, even if it's, I don't know, something like an unwelcomed bit of attention directed at us. But they'll also get telepathic connection and communication with us too, going both ways, so that they'll know immediately where we're coming from and our past and beliefs, and they'll get it all very quickly, So then based on that, both people in the interaction, or even if it's a group, let's say, will know immediately the best course of action to take from there because of that telepathic communication. And again, honoring and maintaining all the other basic principles, such as the golden rule and unconditional love for each other, and respect and mutual respect and dignity, and all these virtues, that we hold so dear. Those will be always maintained in every interaction. So there's no, trying to overcome somebody with our will. There's no need to try to seduce somebody, because it'll just be more like or an instant understanding, and then it just comes down to, okay, am I available for this or that right now, or am I not? So I hope that makes sense, and I'll continue on with my discussion of paradise in the next video or following videos. As you've seen, I digress a little bit here and there and do a few videos based on sort of what I'm thinking or focusing on in the now. But you might have also noticed that some of these other videos that weren't directly about my paradise were probably, all of them are related in some way, either directly or indirectly, to elements of or features of my paradise. So just keep that in mind as well. And that's also why I throw in some videos like that now and then. But I think I'll just leave it at that for this video. So maybe that helps you understand telepathy a little bit more. And also just wanted to mention before I go that the telepathy will be like a fruit of the overall consciousness, and so that shows you how it's all connected and tied in. The telepathy will be like a product, a fruit of the kind of consciousness that's embraced in the paradise that I'm talking about, where everybody is, letting all their creative energy flow, and their free energy, if you will. I mentioned free energy in another video. And so how do we think that free energy will manifest, like in terms of even devices or whatever on our planet? So try to think along those lines, like for us to have free energy devices, say in our homes, we first need to free our energy within ourselves and among each other collectively. So both internally and externally, and then it will appear in the external reality. So, anyways, before I get too much off topic, that's going to be sort of the foundation for things like and I'll get into other things in the following videos, like telepathy. Let's say telekinesis will be a part of it too. So the telepathy will just come naturally, and it'll just start activating naturally, almost like a chemical reaction to the dominant consciousness of the dimension that we're in. Thank you very much, and much love to you, and I will talk to you again soon.